Happy Wednesday, everyone. It is July 22nd, about 7:45. I'm making this video as the second part of the last video that I made, only because it cut off and there was no follow-up. I've been trying to get around to it, and now I am. Just as a disclaimer, I'm very tired. My face is crazy. I'm in my work clothes. I literally just got home from work, put my stuff down just long enough for me to log into my YouTube account on my computer, just to see kind of what the video would look like if I were to make a video on the computer rather than my phone. And I have already committed a cardinal sin with my previous videos that I've been using on my phone, and that is because I was recording vertically. I know, I'm so sorry. So I will keep that in mind. And the reason why I was recording the prior videos like that is because it's much easier for me to look at the camera up top than on the side. But I will try. So because I'm the same way. I don't know why, but I hate when videos are recorded vertically. They're so irritating to me. Anyway, let me go ahead and get into this. Hopefully I can keep this at about 10 to 15 minutes or shorter. I'm going to go for about 10 because there really wasn't that much that I wanted to say, and I can't even find the other notes that I had when I was doing the prior video, so oh well. Just a quick thing. I wanted to show y'all my roses that are blooming so beautifully. Y'all, these are real roses. Look at how beautifully they're opening up. Aren't they pretty? They're not as fragrantful as like some of my other flowers that I have, but they still smell really nice. You just have to take a really, really big whiff. And fun fact about me, if you cannot already tell from the earrings to the dress to the flowers to everything else, I am a floral fiend. I love flowers. Like, gosh, I love flowers. I mean, I wish I could like pick up all this stuff around my house that would show you how much floral I have around here. Flowers in particular, but I love plants too. Anyway, let me stay on track. So I'm just going to go right into what I was talking about in the last one. So, oh, sorry, one other thing, disclaimer. If the lighting is terrible, it's because of the backlight on my computer, so I apologize already in advance for that. Okay, so I'm going to back up a couple of sentences just so that we're kind of all on the same page. So, I was talking about individuals and the amount of money that they need to earn, or that they do earn, before it's correlated with happiness. So it said individual earnings of more than $95,000 a year are correlated with lower life satisfaction. Once people pass that income threshold, most are able to meet all of their needs and pay off their debt before long, which we talked about that. From there, their financial priorities shift towards materialism. Okay, anyway, from there, their financial priorities shift towards materialism and keeping up appearances, and their life satisfaction declines. I made that sound because I started on the wrong paragraph. Let me go up. This is the paragraph that we started on. Researchers determined by examining self-reported income and life satisfaction from 1.7 million people across 164 countries that people reach peak life satisfaction when they earn $95,000 a year. However, satisfaction is different from emotional well-being. If you're satisfied, all of your needs have been met, and this is where the video cut off, but more money might bring more problems. And so then that's when they started talking about earning more money can correlate to lower life satisfaction, because if you make more money but you don't technically need it, and by need we mean taking care of all their needs and paying off all their debts. If you don't need that money, meaning if you have a surplus or an abundance of money outside of that, then the priority shifts towards materialism, keeping up appearances, and things like that. They say they might also be less careful with money, if they're not living paycheck to paycheck, causing themselves financial strain that someone in a lower bracket would never have gotten themselves into. And we've seen that before. We've seen the rich poor, where they have all this stuff and they are still scraping to get by until their next paycheck comes. We all know somebody or someone that lives that way, even though they're making really good money. The amount it takes to achieve emotional well-being is much less. So I touched on that in the last video about how happiness is different from emotional well-being. So the amount is much less. It's actually between $60,000 and $75,000. It says maybe you can't afford every creature comfort, or you have some debt at this level, but you're likely to be more happy than someone who makes six figures or even millions. Now, even I definitely don't make six figures right now, but even I have experienced that on a very, very much smaller, much more humble scale, in that, I do have a lot more stress now, now that, by the grace of God, thank you, Lord, that I do make more money than I did like 3-4 years ago, but it also comes with more stress. One, because, back then I was poor enough that I had to have a roommate who was my best friend slash sister, not by blood, but she's technically my sister. But I was really, really happy. And it also is the other thing to look at is that your expenses go up when you have more money, because society thinks, hey, you have more money, guess what, you can afford to pay off more. And I know, just looking at student loans alone, no pun intended, that my monthly payment more than tripled, when I started making more money. But the ratio between level of comfort and salary, it essentially stayed the same, because when my roommate and I parted ways, and she moved back down to Miami, all my bills doubled, so yes, I made more, but I technically didn't make more, because my expenses and my cost of living doubled. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm not going to keep trying to, because sometimes I feel like I get in a loop of talking. It says, okay, so you may not be able to afford every comfort, but you're more likely to be happy. This range encompasses a $70,000 minimum salary that Gravity Payments CEO Dan Price famously began paying his entire team back in 2015. Price based his decision partially on the 2010 research out of Princeton University, which echoed the findings above, that happiness drops off after $75,000. Y'all, isn't this crazy? It really does go back to the saying that money can't buy happiness. It doesn't buy happiness. It can buy you access to things that can bring you happiness, but no, it doesn't bring you happiness. Okay, so that was the article. Now let's switch over to the actual research. I think they touch more so on the emotional well-being. It says it's been debated at what point does money no longer change your level of well-being. We found that the ideal income point is $95,000 for life evaluation and $60,000 to $75,000 for emotional well-being, which we just talked about. Again, this amount is for individuals and will likely be higher for families, which I also touched on in the prior video. Emotional well-being, or feelings, is about one's day-to-day emotions, such as feeling happy, excited, or sad and angry. Life evaluation, life satisfaction actually, is an overall assessment of how one is doing and is likely more influenced by higher goals in comparison to others. And there is a substantial variation across world regions, with satiation occurring later in wealthier regions for life satisfaction, Jeb says, which is one of the researchers. This could be because evaluations tend to be more influenced by the standards by which individuals compare themselves to other people. Y'all, I'm going to repeat that. This is because evaluations tend to be more influenced by the standards by which individuals compare themselves to other people. This is why I feel like society as a whole, not just in this country, but as a whole, is at a point of no return, because social media and technology has taken us to a point that we really do rely on other people's opinions and keeping up with the Joneses in order to find our own personal satisfaction. How sad is that? You know, that it's just crazy to me. It's so crazy. They go on and to talk about things, but says the reporting on this study is reported in US dollars, and the data is per individual, not family. This part I do want to talk about. The study also found once this threshold was reached, further increases in income tended to be associated with reduced life satisfaction and overall level, and a lower level of well-being. Y'all, my eyes are getting a little blurry. I apologize. This may be because money is important for meeting basic needs. Let me start that again. This may be because money is important for meeting basic needs, purchasing conveniences, and maybe even loan repayments, but to a point. After the optimal point of needs is met, people may be driven by desires such as pursuing more material gains and engaging in social comparisons, which could, ironically, lower well-being. Y'all, is it a coincidence that some of the wealthiest people, or some of the most famous influencers or what have you, talk about having severe depression, or, Hollywood stars that talk about, they have issues with dark thoughts or suicidal attempts and things like that? It's just crazy. It says at this point they're asking themselves, overall, how am I doing, and how do I compare to other people? Jeb said. The small decline puts one's level of well-being closer to individuals who make slightly lower incomes, perhaps due to the costs that come with the highest incomes. These findings speak to a broader issue of money and happiness across cultures. Money is only a part of what really makes us happy, and we're learning more about the limits of money. Y'all, this is backed by science. It's not my opinion. I mean, it is. I do have an opinion that happens to coincide with research, but this can be proven by science and data. That at the end of the day, money is not everything. It is a lot, yes, because the world only turns if you have some sort of money, right? Like, you can only get really good healthcare if you have insurance. You have to pay for insurance. If you have a good job, or you live across town from your house, you have to get there with a car. You have to have money to buy the car. Like, I get all of that in perspective. And when I share my full story of starting from the bottom, now we're here, all that stuff, I will go further into how dark my life was for a while, because I could not climb out of the never-ending black hole that was my very, very thin, pathetic wallet that never had anything in it. So I relate to that, and even to this day, I still watch my pennies. I'm not nearly as tight. Well, I am. I am, but it's not necessarily because I have to. It's because I still have that poor man's mindset where anything can go wrong at any time. And yeah, so I'll get into that later. So I'm not saying that from a position where, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm working towards that goal where I can do a lot of things and not necessarily think twice or even look at my bank account statement, but I'm not there yet. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying that from a perspective of, holier than thou, but what I am saying is that Keeping perspective does more than just keep you humble and keep you reaching for goals. It also helps with your psyche. It helps with your mental health. I went to school with a lot of friends who were going into, powerful, highly respected positions like law and, medicine and things like that. And out of all of them, there was a surprisingly higher number than I would have ever expected of friends that hate their jobs now, because when we're growing up, we think, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an architect, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then as we get older, we realize that there's a lot of money stereotypically that's attached to those sorts of careers, but we never really sit down and think, like, is that really what I want to do, number one, and am I only going into this field for the sake of the paycheck? And if you're going into a field for the sake of the paycheck, you will burn out. And when I talked to two of my friends that are in that situation, they said, good grief, I wish I could go back and do what I really wanted to do, or go into this to have extra money on the side, but I wish that I had expanded my horizons a little bit more, because now what I'm doing, it pays the bills, but I hate it every day. It's a crazy phenomenon that money is both a blessing and a curse, and I know y'all have heard that too. One of my favorite, and I think I said this on either this past video or one of the other videos, that one of my favorite superwomen is Judge Lynn Toller, and she talked about how when she was an attorney, she hated her job. She hated her job. I wish y'all would go and listen to her full story, but she hated her job, and a lot of people would think, well, what do you complain about? Michelle Obama, she hated being an attorney. I'm reading her book right now, Becoming, and I was shocked when she said that, because she worked so hard to become an attorney, and then she got there, and even she talked about in the book where she almost felt bad that her parents did all this sacrificing, and they gave so much for her and her brother, only for her to get into a field that she absolutely hated. And that's not uncommon. It's surprisingly a lot more common than a lot of people think. So this is not about your choice of career, it's keeping perspective as to why you are doing what you are doing. If you are grinding just to say that you have a certain amount in the bank, if that's your sole purpose, and I actually had a friend who just grinded it out because he just wanted a certain amount in the bank. Well, he wasn't really a friend, he was more so a colleague. Back in undergrad, he was really just so irritating. But anyway, everybody in our school of music knew that, anybody who knew him anyway, knew that that was his grind. Like, he wanted to have $1 million by this year, by a certain year, a certain age, or something like that. And that's all he did. It wasn't for any other reason but to say, I have $1 million. What? That's great, but y'all just think a little bit beyond that, is all I'm saying. Keep it into perspective, because it really does affect more than you think. Anyway, let me see, how well did I do on my time? I'm feeling that I'm around 15, alright, I was going to say 20 minutes, yeah. Well, it's 19 minutes. Well, I tried. So I'm going to wait long enough to maybe make a thumbnail. I have figured out how to make my thumbnails a little bit better, which is why I need to probably upload through my computer, because I can't see it on my phone. I guess just because of the settings, whatever. But that is it, y'all. I will make a note for some other things that I want to go over next time. And until then, y'all enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.